Thank you for joining me today for another study of the great controversy between 1884 and 1911 editions. So I would like to welcome you to our study for the hour. I would like to give praise and glory to the only true God, the living God who gave his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. Before I do share with you my study here, I would like to invite you for a word of prayer. Our Father in heaven, O Lord Most High God, I am a sinner who needs salvation through your Son, Jesus Christ. I pray, Lord, that your Spirit of truth will lead us, understanding. May the Spirit of Christ continue to comfort all of us today in this great and last dreadful day. In Jesus' name. Sorry for that interruption. So let us now go to our subject matter. Critical impacts of statements that were changed, added, and subtracted. So the question that we had to ask, did Ellen G. White authorize the changes made in her 1884 Great Controversy, Spirit of Prophecy, Volume 4, that she wrote? Are there statements that would prove that Ellen G. White sanctioned 1911 or allowed the editors or the General Conference Committee to change the language used? So I would like to specifically look into chapter 3, which the church is now presently promoting, and also they will continue to promote as they progress 1911 Great. So let us revisit once again the homepage of the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, the Great Controversy 1911 Project. So in this website, this is my second analysis here of the statement by Ellen G. White concerning her promotion. In the website of the 1911 Great Controversy Project 2.0, they had a statement here: the Lord impressed me to write this book, meaning referring to 1911, if you will read it plainly in the quotation. So the Lord impressed me to write this 1911 book. It seems to be heading that way, in order that without delay, it might be circulated in every part of the world. So 1911 must be circulated in every part of the world, because the warnings it contains are necessary for preparing a people to stand in the day of the Lord. Ellen G. White, Manuscript 24, 1891. Again, I would like to ask the question: is this 1911 Great Controversy the context, the meaning of what Sister Ellen G. White says, as quoted in the Great Controversy Project 2.0? Let me clarify the original statement and where it came from. It came from Manuscript 24, 1891. Daily diary extracts, circulation of Great Controversy, Spirit of Prophecy, Volume 4. So clearly, that statement is not for 1911, not for this book that Sister White is referring this paragraph. She was referring to the Spirit of Prophecy, Volume 4, which is her original book, and this is how it looks like. So we will study that the chapter. We will study that chapter in question where there was addition and insertion by editors of the General Conference. I will read here. How could the man who had been managing the sale of our books neglect for years anything to push the sale of volume 4? The Lord impressed me to write this book. So this is clearly what Sister White said. The Lord impressed me to write this book, not 1911, but 1844. So that is clear context. The Lord impressed me to write this book without delay. It might be circulated in every part of the world, because the warnings it contains are necessary for preparing a people to stand in the day of the Lord. And that is what the last sentence is. Stand in the Lord. And I will continue reading. But men of trust have allowed this book to fall dead from the press. Nothing that I have said or written to them, nothing that I have spoken in public has changed the order of things. Seven letter manuscript 24, 1891, paragraph 2. Mean to say, friends, Ellen G. White was urging people who were trusted with the publication of her work, with this book, Spirit of Prophecy, Volume 4, they did not listen. That's what it. But now, instead of circulating 1884, Ted Wilson, the president of the General Conference Corporate Church, circulates 11, which Sister White did not said to be circulated according to this sentence. It was 1884, volume 4 of the Spirit of Prophecy, not 1911. So this is clearly a misleading statement used by the General Conference to attribute to Ellen G. White. Sister White did not write to circulate the 1911. She desired 1884 to be circulated. And you might be asking, why? I will tell you just one paragraph that was changed, inserted, and edited, added. Let me go to the original Great Controversy. This is the original, I'm sorry. This is the original. Please don't be confused. 1884 Spirit Volume. This is chapter 3. The chapter 3 is entitled The Roman Church. In 1911, let me show you so that you will believe. This is chapter 3, Roman Church. In the 1911, this is what Wilson is promoting. It is called not Roman Church. It is called an era of darkness. So that's the difference. The title changed from Roman Church original 1884, Roman Church 1884, to indulge me because of my problem here with Zoom. This is 1911, an era of spiritual darkness, and I will show you the subtle impact statements that are embedded. First, we will read this statement that I have highlighted. So to establish that they are correct, let us read the previous paragraph. The spirit of concession to paganism. If you go to 1884, it will show you here. The spirit of concession to paganism opened the way for still further disregard of heaven's authority. That's 1884. This is 1911. The spirit of concession to paganism opened the way for a still further disregard of heaven's authority. The sentences or the statements of Mrs. White are correct in both 1911 and 1884, previous of this highlighted version. Now let us go to the original first. So you can see that this is the whole paragraph, and you can also see in 1911, this is the whole paragraph. Observe is the last word there, and in 1884, observe is the last word there. Did you see what I'm trying to show you through? So this paragraph in 1884 and this paragraph in 1911 are exactly the same, copied. So that is not the problem. The problem is the next paragraph. The next paragraph, to prepare the way in 1911, this is 1911, friends. Forgive me for being able to, I want you to understand, that's all to say here. The paragraph, to prepare the way for the work, is not in 1884. It ends with Constantine, and I will tell you why this was deleted and why some statements had been changed. Why? And did Ellen G. White said that it's but in the letter that she wrote, which was also published, the Lord impressed this book. What book? 1884. So if the Lord gave it to Ellen G. White, 1884, referring to 1884, 19, meaning to say Ellen G. White was adamant that that was the correct book, 1884, because she said the Lord impressed me to write 1884, not 1911, as Ted Wilson would promote. It was 1884, friends, that she was saying, based upon the original context of the verse, of the statements, as I have showed you in the original. Here it is. Circulation of the Great Controversy, Spirit Prophecy, Volume 4. So that is established. That is a fact. That is true. This is supposed to be the one that should be established to every part of the world. But it was not. They instead poured money to print the 1911, this version, which in chapter 3, instead of Roman Church, they said era of spiritual darkness. And then they added this paragraph that I highlighted. How do I know it's added? Take a look at the, after these two paragraphs, the arch deceiver had not completed his work. I will go to 1884. After this was deleted, this deleted here, you can see the arch deceiver had not completed his work, page 56 of the original. So this is the highlighted paragraph is the question today. Impact statements. Are statements have a bearing on my understanding of the Sabbath when it was kept, was not kept? And why? Or this paragraph here that was deleted has, and the editors, the committee, were correct to edit her work. And why did Sister White was adamant in circulating 1884, volume 4, not 1911? So let us read first this 1911 insertion. This was not, this paragraph, these two paragraphs were not in the original 1884. They are not. This paragraph 3, pages 37, 38, were not in the 1884. They were not. They were inserted. Who inserted them? The editors. Did Ellen G. White sanction? We don't have a letter. She just said 1884 must be circulated, not 1911. So this is a controversy in one paragraph deleted, two paragraphs added. I hope this is clear. So let us read. This is not Ellen G. White in 1911. This is somebody else. Somebody else inserted this. How do I know? She said, the Lord impressed me to write 1884. And 1884 was published and was stopped circulation. But praise be to God, the miraculous original surfaced on the internet, which we were able to find. Right? Men and women who are honest and diligent to put the original writing of 1884. So now we are comparing. This is insertion. Prepare for the work which designed Satan had led the Jews. So now, think about this. Satan had led the Jews before the advent of Christ. Remember, this is not Sister White's handwriting or thought. She was adamant to circulate 1884 because it was from the Lord. So if 1884 was from the Lord, this insertion, by logic, is not from the Lord. to prepare the work for which he desired to accomplish, Satan led the Jews before the advent of Christ to load down the Sabbath with the most making its observance a burden. So now it reinforced, if you are a keen observer, diligent student of the Bible, it reinforced the Jews had exacted rigorous burdens, which is correct partly. But the Jews showed us the correct God of the Sabbath. The Jews did point to us the one true God. Did you find it? Did you see it? Are you hearing me? The Jews were correct in observing the Sabbath, but they were incorrect when they exact rigorous exactions. Not all of the exact Jews were burdensome. There were spiritual implications. Not all were bad. There were few or some that were good. The problem was the Pharisees, the chief rulers, and the priests who were unprincipled in their, or I should say, they were exacting as though they are to be gods, or I should say, they are to be followed, but they would not want that exaction to be followed themselves. I hope I made myself a little bit clear. Repeat this. So this statement, which is not from the Ellen G. White, gives us the impression that the Sabbath is Jewish, that the Sabbath is Jewish. If we are not to reinforce what the evangelical Sunday churches are saying, it's a Jewish Sabbath. So it weakens our understanding, the right understanding of the Jews. There were Jews who keep the Sabbath correctly, and there were chief or Pharisees and scribes and these men of religious authority who were giving the rigorous exactions. So this statement is, it should investigate every sentence here that is not from the Lord, according to Ellen G. White, 1911. This is not from Ellen G. White. She did not wrote this, because I have not found a letter that says this is what she added or inserted. This was inserted by the GC committee at that time, 1911. Now, taking advantage of the fault in which he had thus caused to be regarded, he cast contempt upon it as a Jewish institution. That is correct. While Christians generally continue to observe the Sunday as a joyous festival. Now that is something not true. Christians generally continue to observe the Sunday as a joyous festival. How did that happen? I know there were some Christians who were antichrist during the time of Paul, some, not all Christians. So we should be careful in understanding this. Again, this is insertion for those of you who just came in, or for those of you who are not able to listen to the first few explanations. It says here, this is insertion, while Christians generally continue to observe the Sunday as a joyous festival. It seems to me that the Christians, the first century Christians, were already they were observing Sunday. Friends, let's examine this. Please examine this statement carefully. Let's superficially understand this. He led them in order to show their hatred of Judaism. Well, Jesus did not hate Judaism. He came to magnify, to fulfill the law. Now that is where the impact statements are happening. The insertion, which is attributed in the name of Ellen G. White, which she did, perhaps in my assessment, did not write or allowed as per evidence of her statements in 1891. It is not true that Sunday was joyful, and the Sabbath was a hatred for the Jews. The disciples continued to keep the Sabbath joyfully. To make the fast a day of sadness and gloom. Well, the Sabbath of the Jewish Sabbath was made joyful when they gathered together in their homes and rest and spend time with the family. So I don't know why this was inserted. This is another insertion, friends. This is not found in the original 1884. In the early part of the 4th century, the Emperor Constantine issued a decree making Sunday a public festival. It is not the early part of 4th century. It was somewhere in the 300s. Well, you can examine that for yourself. Making a public festival throughout the Roman Empire. See appendix. Mrs. White did not wrote this. See appendix. She never wrote that. The Day of the Sun was reverenced by his pagan subjects and was honored by Christians. Now that is a confusing statement. So the Christians are both honoring Sunday and pagans, because Christians, I believe, they continued to keep the Sabbath, maybe some, but not all. More generally, they keep the Sabbath even until the time of the Waldensians, which is the next chapter. So how could this be? How could the Christian statement is reverenced by his pagan subjects and was honored by Christians? That is a misleading statement, as far as I can tell. It was the emperor's policy to unite the conflicting interests of heathenism and Christianity. He was urged to do this by bishops of the church who inspired by ambition and thirst for power, perceived that if the same day was observed by both Christians and heathen, it would promote the nominal acceptance of Christianity by pagans, and that advanced the power and glory of the church. But while many God-fearing Christians were gradually led to regard Sunday as possessing a degree of sacredness, held the true Sabbath as the holy of the Lord and observe it in obedience to the 4th commandment. There are so many impact statements here that needs to be analyzed. And then the next paragraph, the arch deceiver had not completed his work. Let's go to the original. So I have established that this paragraph was taken out and inserted 2 paragraphs, because the next sentence is, in the next paragraph, the arch deceiver had not completed his work. So here in 1911, the arch deceiver had not completed his work. So that is established that the 2 paragraphs were inserted. Why? Why these 2 paragraphs were inserted and edited? And why this paragraph in the original was deleted? This was deleted. Okay, let me read the original now. And this was deleted. Constantine, while still a heathen, he was still a heathen. Sister White was correct. Issued a decree enjoining the general observation of Sunday as a public festival throughout the Roman Empire. Before he became a Christian, that's what it means. So Ellen G. White saw from the Lord, if you will believe her as the messenger of God, and that she wrote this book, and the Lord said to her, impress me, Lord, 1884, not 1911. If you will believe, the Lord impressed her to write this paragraph. Why was it deleted? Was this paragraph deleted? Why Constantine, while still a heathen, issued a decree enjoining the general observance of Sunday as a public festival throughout the Roman Empire. After his conversion, well, that is the account, he remained a staunch advocate of Sunday. So meaning he was a Sunday keeper, a Sunday issuer, a Sunday law issuer before he became a Christian, and much more so even after he became a Christian. So that is what Sister White means, in my understanding. And his pagan was then enforced by him the interest of his new faith. So he was a Sunday keeper before and after his conversion. But the statement here in the 1911, it seems that both Christians were the Day of the Sun was reverenced by his pagan sons and was honored by Christians. That was not the case. He was not converted yet, and the Christians were the Sabbath, so they were not observing Sunday. But this statement say that and was honored by Christians, the Sunday. So they're referring to the 4th century. So there are impact statements here that may alter some of our understanding. When did Constantine became a Christian and enforced Sunday? Did he enforce Sunday because he became a Christian? I think it was clear. While still a heathen, he enjoining the general observance of Sunday as a public festival. He was a pagan then, and then his pagan beliefs as Sunday, he continued with fervor, enforce his law. But the honor shown is not yet sufficient to prevent Christians from regarding the true Sabbath as the holy of the Lord. Another step must be taken. The false exalted to unequality with the true. A few years after the issue of Constantine, the Bishop of Rome conferred on the Sunday the Lord's Day. Thus, the people were gradually regarded as possessing a degree of sacredness. Still, the original Sabbath was. So the sentence here, thus the people were gradually led to regard it because of the deception by Rome, by the Bishop of Rome, entitling it the Lord's Day. So there are statements, but it's countering the statement of Ellen G. White. But while many God-fearing Christians were gradually led to regard Sunday as possessing a degree of sacredness, they still held the true Sabbath as the holy day of the Lord and observed in obedience to the 4th commandment. So, did the editors of the General Conference 1911 edition thought that Ellen G. White was in error? That is the question. Did they agree with the liberal popular history during the time? Did they, Mr. White was in error when he said, clearly, the Lord impressed me to write 1884, volume 4, not 1911. So the editors thought it wise to delete this and insert 2 paragraphs, which I have read to you earlier. So I tried to compare this with and did a little research with Sunday, the day of the week, Encyclopedia Britannica. Before we go there, there is this question here that the popular liberal search would like us to believe, and this will confuse many minds. It says here, the Roman Emperor Constantine died 337, a convert to Christianity. That is far from the 4th century. It's off. So a convert to Christianity introduced the first civil day 321 when he decreed that all work should cease that day except the farmers could work if necessary. So this is the popular search result. Now let us go to the liberal Britannica Encyclopedia, Sabbatarianism, doctrine of the Christians who believe that the Sabbath, usually on Sundays, should be observed in accordance with the 4th commandment, which forbids the work of Sabbath because it's a holy day. So Sunday is now the Sabbath of the Christians. Some other Christians have contended that the 4th or some system commandment was part of the Hebrew ceremonial. Now that is clearly off, misleading. They believe that this law was entirely abolished by Jesus, whose resurrection on the first day of the week established a new kind of day, characterized by worship rather than absence of work. In Christianity, there are many shades of opinion between these two views. So even the liberal Britannica doesn't know what, the author doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know which one is moral, which one is a ceremonial. In a sense, he does not. He's ignorant. And then let's read Britannica Encyclopedia. You can access that Britannica.com. Legislation concerning what may or may not be done on Sunday is as old as the time of the Roman Emperor Constantine, who decreed regulation against labor in 321 in its strictest form. However, Sabellianism, the Scottish and English reformers, especially John Knox, now this is off. The Scottish Presbyterian took their views, the American colonies where rigorous blue laws were enacted. That is true. Although reduced in number and effect, Sunday observance are still in various effects. Various European countries and in the United States, they're still promoting, Sunday. State or local laws, primarily in the South, bar certain business activities and sporting events on Sunday, recently, however, only before noon. So this is the account of the Sunday of the week. But generally, this is what they call this. First day of the week. That's Sunday. We are being misled by history and by the spirit of prophecy. This is the point. Now, even the Ministry magazine, which was founded by Leroy Edwin Fromm, had some comments here that are not in harmony with what Sister Ellen G. White, but they are using Ellen G. White to substance their claims. So I would like to ask this question with you as you study this for yourselves. Did Ellen G. White in 1884 made a mistake? Did she made a mistake in allowing this paragraph to be a part of her writing, as the Lord has impressed her according to her statements? Or was she wrong and the editors were correct in adding these two paragraphs that I highlighted? So the impact statements here, friends, is the fact that we are being led to believe that Sunday, there were already Christians who recognized Sunday even before Constantine the Great issued Sunday law, and it was generally being marketed or being taught that it was a Jewish law, and their hatred for the Jewish way of life and culture was the reason why they changed to Sunday as the Sabbath. Many impact statements here that we can think about and study for ourselves. The Sabbath is generally a day of family time and joyful celebrations for the Jewish people. And I don't know why this two paragraphs would. These are just some of the observations that I have made in order for us to study for ourselves. Why was the 1884 volume 4 not heeded to be circulated? Why was 1911, with its additions and insertion, is the one being promoted? Please ask that question again today. So Sister White was clearly being sidelined, but the General Conference Committee and leaders using her name as though she endorsed and sanctioned 1911. There are many good statements there that had been copied, but there are significant historical facts that had been deleted, like Constantine the Great. Prior, Constantine was still a heathen when he enacted the Sunday law. So I want you to think for yourselves. I hope and pray that you will find for yourselves the truth. Prove all these things so that you may know who is telling the truth. May God the Father and His Son continue to bless you as you search for the pure Word of God and the pure spirit of prophecy. In His name,